penetrating, it could be opening, and again, into the street. So this has been a game changer, and has been very hot topic in a lot of podcasts and things like that. But do know that where some of the studies that show that it didn't work, um, I'll discuss that with you personally, but a lot of those aren't the same protocols as what the DoD uses or what we are using here. So this has been agreed upon. So essentially, if you look at it for market to severe blood loss, if you're expecting them to possibly exsanguinate, we want to do this. The only real contraindication is really it's listed here as a precaution. It has to be within 3 hours of the start of the injury. That's it, period, end of story. So if you're not exactly sure, go ahead and maybe consider using it or consider calling medical command if you're not sure how long the injury's been. But if you get a call for a trauma alert, where you get a traumatic injury and it's been less than 3 hours, boom, we need to get this on board as soon as possible. Um, I will break down two further here. So, it's 2 grams of the dose, so it's 2 vials, or sometimes it comes in one bag, which is 1 gram, but we are carrying it in 2 vials. It's 1 gram per vial. So you put both of them into a syringe, um, and you could do a slow IV push, or you can put it in a 100 cc bag or whatever and do it over a couple of minutes. An easy breakdown of yes or no, like, oh man, should I be using TXA? Moderate severe exsanguination, again, that's bleeding out. You're losing blood. So you're scalping in the street, yes. Penetrating neck injury into other cavities, yes. So it's 2 grams over minutes, right? So that's traumatic injuries, postpartum hemorrhage, maybe a major GI bleed, could be a severe posterior epistaxis, which is a nosebleed, right? So you can give that if it's so bad and it's continuing, you can go ahead and give it IV, and then we can also basically give it topically for bleeding along any sort of mucosa. So post tonsillectomy, but you can't really put on gauze and shove it in the back. So you can nebulize it or you use an atomizer or spray it. Epistaxis, I just said post tonsillectomy, same thing. You can nebulize or spray it, or bad hemoptysis. Hemoptysis is coughing up blood. So we have lung cancer patients, tuberculosis, they're just coughing up bright red blood where they're actively bleeding into their lungs. You can go ahead and nebulize 1 gram. You can water it down a little bit with saline, but essentially just put it in the nebulizer and let it go. But intracranial hemorrhage, like a subarachnoid bleed, no, we're not using it for that. Now, TXA, how it works, basically, naturally, you have clots being formed and then clots being broken down. And your platelets are the knots in the net, and your fibrin all comes together, and it kind of makes a big net, and that's your clot. So the clot is formed, and it's broken down by plasminogen. Plasminogen is released by your liver, and it's converted by natural products to plasmin. Okay, and that's done by TPA. Yes, similar to the TPA that we give for clot busting. Makes sense, right? But it's a massive dose. So when TPA binds with plasminogen, it turns it into plasmin, and plasmin breaks down fibrin. And so it breaks it into different things, split products and things like that. So TXA is not a procoagulant. It doesn't promote clotting. It's just stopping the breakdown of clots, because what naturally is going to happen is, let's say, something happens, I get hit, I get shot, right? I start bleeding, my body's trying to make clots, and once it makes a clot, it's starting to try to break it down and kind of balance everything out. So TXA binds to a receptor on the plasminogen so that TPA can't allow it to go. So that's essentially, it allows the clot to stay active, and therefore it stops the bleeding or helps stop the bleeding. Now, in a little animation that I did, this is just that one part, right? That TXA mechanism of action. In the whole cascade of tissue injury and bleeding and clotting, I made this. So we're at the top, right? So vascular injury, our body is naturally going to try to vasoconstrict, and collagen is going to release things, and it's going to activate our platelets.